Starting to clean up things around here. Almost done with that. That's not why we're here today. Today we're here to mess with the daily some more. So the next step is headers. These are TOGs. These are a 3-piece design ones. About 2 years back, I actually went through and compared all the headers side by side, installed them all, kind of went through and see how each one went. But I never actually got to test any. Now I've run S&S headers, and judging how those used to do back in the day, I know I'll be pleased with how this works out. Yeah, I'm gonna say the tricky part is gonna be getting everything apart, not so much putting this together. Guess our main focus is to get the old manifolds off, drop the downpipe, and get everything from engine to the converter out. What I'm also going to try to do is retain the converter. That way I don't skew our results too much. I'm even going to, which this has a provision for the EGR, I'm also going to attempt to go ahead and retain that as well. We'll see how that goes. But first I'm going to have to soak some things in hopes that I can get it off without any major headaches. Oh, looks like I got some broke stuff already. So let's get to it. First thing we gotta tackle is the covers. Now they're supposed to all be 10mm. They're usually pretty rusty and they like to snap off. So what you gotta do is get the center one off and then get the front and rear ones off. Now bear with me because it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm gonna probably struggle for a little bit trying to figure out how to get these apart. Looking like we're gonna be draining the coolant because I gotta get this off. So if I had to guess, I'm gonna probably end up having the intake off, draining the coolant, and getting this guy off. But let's work on those cover bolts first. Alright, so I do see where I'm going to run into some snags. So, off camera real quick, I'm going to go ahead and move the quarter intake, drain the coolant, get the upper hose off, get the bypass hose off, and move the coil packs out of the way. So, real simple stuff. So I'm going to do it off camera, but yeah, so we can continue. So far, I've got the coolant drain, I've got the intake out of my way, and I did remove that bypass completely. Luckily enough, we've already changed the throttle body, so I didn't have to deal with unhooking the coolant lines there. So remember, those are there. I think we're actually ready to. There we go. There it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and soak everything. Alright, so we're making progress here. Get the bottom 3 bolts of the rear manifold, and that'll be out. I just got the downpipe out. That was not fun. Had to cut the bolts. I'm hoping to be able to do something like this, but we'll see. We get the headers on first. Get that last piece off, and then we gotta start extracting some bolts. So then I put it back on the ground, and I was able to get the rear piece in at least. So it's just kind of loosely in there. Gaskets with the bolts kind of going in. So it's just a matter of tightening it down. I do have to go back and drop the radiator so I can get to these 2 studs right here that snapped off inside the head. Funny enough, they were already broke before I even did anything. I did get my O2 sensor and that E-jar pipe off that. O2 sensor's already in there. However, I went to relocate this guy, and I found that. Do some more work off camera, especially those front bolts. When we come back to actually install the headers, fire up the camera again. All right, so crisis averted. So now that that's taken care of, I went ahead and decided to do new gaskets. We'll get the front and rear set up. We'll get the middle kind of set in place. I have a new tube on the way, so I have to wait for that. But we can get most of it all in, tighten down, get our downpipe on, well, mocked up. So I got a new gasket cover for that. And then we can figure out what we're gonna do with our exhaust system. Alright, so now it's getting dark out after, well, I don't know, 3 hours. Front one's on, tightened down. I've got that joint loosely put together. I had to go buy bolts for that other one. So I got those new bolts. I got the rear one almost all the way tightened down. I got a new EGR tube in so we can get that installed. So I gotta go ahead and put all this stuff back together, get the coolant in it, and then I'm gonna be able to actually do what I wanted to. So not ideal, but what I can do for the time being. So downpipe into the cat and then into the rest of the exhaust. There's no spot for a downstream, and I'm not gonna worry about it because it doesn't affect how it runs. It'll get a light obviously, which I'll end up addressing on the next step, which will be a tune, and I can just turn that code off. But the whole point is there's a cat on there. It's a functioning cat. We'll get to hear how it sounds with headers and a cat on there, and then yeah, we'll move on from there. So back to the grind. I didn't get to really film as much as I've been wanting to, just because it's been, yeah, these haven't been very fun. And the amount of time I spent just on this front header, I could have probably had the entire S&S header setup put in. That's how difficult this has been. Should be worth it though. Alright, so that's all together. We're good? We think? No. Probably not. So, oh, hey, we should probably put the belt back on. Fire in the hole! I think we fixed it. All right, so get ready to wrap this up, put it back on the ground. Here's what we got. So, see there, we've got EGR hooked up, so that's cool. I got our stock cat on there. The only downfall is no downstream O2, but that's all right. We can run without that. Let's get us a startup and then drive it a few days and do some testing. Alright, so now we're on to the test with the headers. After some finesse, so far I've had to kind of correct a couple leaks on the exhaust and still seem to be getting leaks. Now I'm not surprised because I just kind of threw it together, but it's not leaking the worst where I was expecting it to. I've also noted, so you guys have seen the test up to this point and have known that the transmission of the car works fantastic. The transmission now has like a slip. Now, mind you, I didn't change nothing. The only difference is the downstream O2 is not there because I couldn't retain that, as you guys saw. Now, unless if maybe the O3 Plus, all of a sudden that does actually do something, I'm really not sure what's going on. I'll still continue to work on hopefully maybe correcting most of the leaks. Probably gonna hit it with the MIG welder here to try and combat that, and then work on, I may even go ahead and try to reinstall that downstream O2 to see if it helps. All right, well, figure I'd give you a little update of how it's going. Everything back there is pretty much done. So right now we're trying to finish up this piece. So I have that all sealed up. I've got it sitting up there where it needs to. Just needed to come back here and mark. Just give me a mark here. That way I know where that goes. So we'll unbolt that and do some more welding. Alright, so after playing with this car for a couple weeks now, I'm finally at the point where it's just, we're gonna go with it. I did go ahead and check the trans fluid because I had a suspicion after doing the radiator. I did lose enough to make a difference. Didn't think I did. Here I did. So we topped that off. I haven't driven it yet, but that obviously needs addressed. Did go ahead and reinstall the downstream O2. Did run into some issues. And I'm still kind of noticing it now, so that's actually the second branded sensor I've tried. Sitting at idle at least, that downstream is reading really low, which is making the car think there's something wrong that it's lean. Now, the fuel trims look good. The upstream O2 is working just fine. I've checked all the wiring. You know, I've tested everything. I bench tested both sensors. Obviously changed the sensor and it's doing the same thing. Makes me believe it's not the sensors. So that really just points that I did something to the cat while it was out. I don't know if, knocking it around, dropping it, hitting it up while welding it did something. I'm not sure. What I do know is after pulling the one sensor to put the other one in, you could smell that, it's on the rich side, which is to expect because you figure between the intake, the throttle body, and the exhaust, you're gonna need more fuel. So definitely a weird thing. Not 100% concerned about it because, again, it does not affect drivability at all. It's just an annoying light on the dash. Yep. So we're gonna move on to testing, get this done and over with, do our 0 to 60, and move on to tuning. And then that way, if that light does come back on, I'll just go ahead and turn off that code. Definitely don't want to spend this much time on this thing for just one step, and with a bunch of other stuff going on, I haven't been able to focus on it. So, all right. So without further ado, we'll get our 0 to 60 done with headers this time. So after new downstream O2 sensor, it seems that possibly that problem's gone away. But again, wasn't too worried about it at this point. Yeah, let's get it done. All right, got HP tuners running. Get our spot here. So, as I was afraid of, that lag was still kind of there between the 1-2 shift. I guess I can only get lucky for so long. The car does have 220,000 miles on it, and it's been shifting 100% perfect up until, like I said, just installing the headers. So I'm not sure what happened there. It is still a daily, so I'm not out beating this thing all the time. When the most exercise this thing gets is what you guys see in these videos. That 8.2 puts us right about where we were with the quarter intake. If you factor in the whole slipping, that should put it right about probably 8 flat. So not too bad. I mean, you figure we start a little over 9 seconds and we're down right about 8 seconds. Cost considering, obviously that's a lot of money for just dropping a second off your 0 to 60, but for an old car like that, doing pretty good. So now we're gonna move on. Once they get some other stuff done, gonna move on to tuning. I'm gonna go through and cook up a tune here, hopefully help combat that shift lag a little bit, and then obviously do some other things to kind of help wrap up everything we've done so far, see what it'll do. So as always, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.